Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It is a very last edition of the season for Back to School. I'm your host, Scott Steen, lead handicapper at winnersandwhiners.com.
I'm your co-host, Scott Reichel, senior handicapper over winnersandwhiners.com.
And together, we do this every single week. We usually do it on Friday, but we got some Friday games, and so we wanted to do the show on Thursday, get it dropped a day early.
Just want to ask, by the way, since you're going to bring that up, do either of us even have any of the Friday games?
I do.
You do? Okay, cool. So it actually makes sense. Okay, because I did not. That's why I was curious. Okay, cool.
I do have a play on a Friday game. By the way, apologies for no bells and whistles, no intro. We've got the StreamYard logo up there. Somebody has stripped us of all of our ability to do our show. I don't know.
We've been robbed.
We've been robbed. The powers that be have apparently streamlined StreamYard. And that meant the show that we haven't done for about 4 months is no longer available. So, so this is it, guys. This is it. Just to recap where we stand. Reichel picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue as he went 0-3 last week. Down in flames on Middle Tennessee State. Down in flames on Notre Dame.
They woke up, but it was just after halftime. They did nothing for the first 2 quarters. I don't know what they were doing.
All three of us went spectacularly down in flames on LSU. Good Lord.
I still can't believe Middle Tennessee State blew a 20-point lead with like a minute to go in the first half. And they almost lost the game outright to FIU. I don't know how that happens, but sure.
FIU, buddy.
Stock still got rewarded with an extension for that performance. So good luck with that one, Middle Tennessee.
So I had the LSU game. Of course, that one we talked about wasn't good. I had the old reliable. I'm so going to miss this Colorado team, buddy. Had Utah minus 30 over Colorado. And we had Kansas State minus 11.5 over the hated Jayhawks, and they certainly took care of business.
You kind of cheated because you took that as your play of the day video too accidentally because you forgot that you took it on the college show.
Yes, that's absolutely.
You doubled down on Kansas State, and it worked out.
It's kind of an unspoken rule that we don't double down on picks, but
the show came out first, so
yes. So
you know. And besides, I took the same play as my play today on Saturday, so it's fine. So
that brings our standings. Reichel 21-18. Yours truly, 22-17, a 1-game lead going into the last week. It is amazing. Every year we've done this, it has come down to the last week.
It has. I do think, by the way, we're going to have to add something to this episode. We might have to add our best bet, so to speak, just as a tiebreaker, hypothetically. There is a chance that, for example, I go 2-1, you go 1-2, and we tie.
Yeah,
this isn't soccer. We can't end it on ties on the group stage.
No.
We got to have some tiebreakers. So
you don't want to you don't want to make the tiebreaker the Army Navy game next week.
I mean, it could, but that involves us making another video on Army Navy, and I mean, I'm curious how you want to go about it.
I think that's a good idea. But we'll put a BB besides one of those plays, and yeah, I'm good with that. So
by the way, I do want to ask you for the college football remainder of the season, since this is our last back to school episode, are we still going to end up doing the bowl game videos, or what's the story with that?
I was just going to mention that. I was going to see how did we do it last year? Did we do one?
We did a video on every bowl game.
Did we do each bowl game individually, or did we do them
individually? We did each individually.
I was thinking about doing it by day.
Okay.
So if we got a day with 3 bowl games, we'll just do all those.
It's fine with me. I'm just whatever you prefer.
Well, as long as they can hook me up with something with StreamYard.
Okay.
This is
cool.
This bare bones StreamYard.
In other words, we'll be back in some capacity for the bowl games. There you go.
Yeah, we'll probably have a 2 or 3 day lead time on those because it gets busy.
We're gonna try to make it 2 to 3, but you have players opting out all the time. So we also want to give you some up-to-date information. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's the reason we're not going to do it like 2 weeks in advance as soon as the bowl games come out, because there's so many opt-outs. It's so frustrating.
And coaches switching, and there's just a lot of other variables at play.
So I'm going to save all those bitches for later in the season, and they will be aplenty. I guarantee it. So yeah, stay tuned for that. It's not the last you've seen of us. We'll see what happens. So if you're tuning in and you're saying, well, it's championship weekend, I know these guys are going to have some great plays on all the conference championships. Well, you're half right. One of us does. The other one got open the barrel, dug all the way through it, and is now scraping the bottom. So you're going to
One of them is a championship game, for the record. The other one's not, but one of them is. So
okay, fair enough.
Okay.
So you're gonna find out which one is which, and you might have an idea already. But hey, Scott, it's the last week of the season. Losers walk.
Yep, going for either the tie or the outright win here in the bragging right championship. I'm going to start off with the mainstream game. I'm going to go with Michigan in the Big Ten title game at minus 16.5 at minus 110 on Caesars. Michigan, we saw dominate Ohio State. Really wasn't even close. And Michigan's been very good for the past 2 months. Michigan has won 6 of its last 7 games by at least 22 points. Also, they're undefeated, so there's that. Purdue is the winner of the whatever the hell the Big Ten West sweepstakes was, because they somehow ended up here after Iowa lost to Nebraska at home. Shout out to you guys. But either way, Purdue might be using a backup quarterback in this game. It's a sad story, but I got to at least bring it up. Purdue starting quarterback Aiden O'Connell had a death in the family. In fact, it was actually his brother, and he has been away from the team ever since they won that game last week. And so the point is, O'Connell might not play. He hasn't practiced all week. There's no update on it. Of course, the family's grieving over the loss of Aiden's brother, but the point is he might not play. So Purdue might be using a backup quarterback. And even if O'Connell does play, Michigan has been very good against the pass this season, as Michigan is allowing just 177.3 passing yards per game against FBS competition, which ranks 11th in the nation. Plus, Purdue has made it here. Congrats. The issue is they haven't played anybody the entire season. Didn't play Michigan, didn't play Ohio State. Their biggest game was arguably week 1 against Penn State, and they lost the game. They haven't really beaten anybody because their whole division was awful. I think Michigan's just a step above, and I do think with the QB concerns involving Purdue, I think Michigan rolls them. I think Michigan wins this game by 20+.
Now, I see 17 everywhere. Where'd you find that 16.5, buddy?
Caesars had 16.5 at minus 110.
Okay. All right.
And I did the lines fresh at like 3 a.m. So this isn't like pre-recorded from 4 days ago.
It could be getting a little the old okey doke here. I'm not sure, but okay.
Okay, cool. You can believe me if you want. I know what I saw. I know my truth.
All right, fair enough. We're going to take that Friday game, and it's going to be the Pac-12 championship game. It's going to be Utah and USC. I don't know who's got the side here. It should be an entertaining battle. I think there's going to be a lot of offense. I've got the over 67. Yeah, the Utes defense is solid, but they've struggled against good offenses, giving up 34.7 points per game to UCLA, Washington, and USC, including giving up 42 to the Trojans when they played earlier in the season. In that game, the two quarterbacks combined for 796 yards, 7 TD passes, no interceptions. And we've talked about this a lot. As good as this USC offense is, their defense may be even worse. First game landed 85. May not get to 85 again, but I definitely like the over 67 in this one. I don't think we get a lot of stops here.
Is there any update on Kincaid's status? Because I know that he caught a touchdown pass last week. He might have had a concussion. I don't know, because they were up by 90 at the time, so they kind of just pulled him. I'm assuming he's healthy, but I'm just asking.
I didn't see him showing up anywhere on the...
he might have just got the wind knocked out of him, but he was in the end zone, like, getting medical treatment in the second quarter. But I'm assuming he's fine.
Looks like he is not on
the
injury report, so I'm assuming he's good to go. I know I checked that before. I just wanted to double check it, make sure nothing had been updated. So, yeah, over 67 for the Utes. You say Utes? And the Trojans.
Mm-hmm. Can't really argue with that. First meeting landed 85.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
all
right. So now we get to the fun stuff. We get to the FCS card. FCS football matters too. We're going to be looking at a conference championship game. So
can we just admit that I beat you in Division I? Can we just give me the crown for Division I?
I will not give you that, because FCS is Division I, isn't it?
Okay. There is no more Division I technically.
FBS, I think, is what you mean to say.
Yes, you're right. Can we just officially call me the champion of FBS?
I mean, technically, you could argue that you beat me there too, because I took Presbyterian like twice. So I don't know if that counts or not. But still, for this one though, I am going to go to a conference title game. It's going to be in the SWAC between the Southern and Jackson State. I'm going to take the under.
Coach Prime.
It might be his last game. I'm not sure if he's going to stick around for the bowl game or not, but either way, I'm going to take the under 50.5 at minus 110 on Bet Online. There has been some money coming in on the under. Total opened up at 52. Now it's at 50.5. Can we agree that under money on an FCS title game is probably sharp money? Can we agree on that?
Feels pretty sharp, buddy.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the under. I just like how the line has moved, and I also agree with it. These teams played back in late October. That game landed 35. In fact, Southern did not score a single point in the game, but Jackson State has been really, really good defensively. In fact, they've allowed more than 15 points once all season. That's it. They've allowed 14 or less in every other game. But Jackson State defensively has been incredible, allowing just 216.9 yards per game, which is first in the FCS. Southern not far behind, allowing just 288, which ranks fourth. So you have two really good defenses. The first meeting landed 35, and Southern against very good defenses has struggled offensively. It's kind of similar to your total with Utah and USC. The first meeting in the regular season was so far over the total. This meeting was so far under the total. I think this line's too high. I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, it's a hell of a defense Prime has there. It really is.
216 yards allowed per game. Like, what is that?
That's unbelievable is what that is. All right, very good. I'm moving back to FBS, sort of.
That's your problem.
Taking a look in the MAC, and it's our last MACtion action of the season. It's Toledo, it's Ohio. I'm going to take Ohio +2. You know, this Ohio team last week kind of wondered what they do without Rourke, who is out with a leg injury for the rest of the season. Put in sophomore C.J. Harris, a dual threat quarterback from Michigan, the state, not the college, and he did a nice job. You know, he took a little while to get going, but once he got going, he did a very good job. He's more of a runner than Rourke is, less of a passer, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, as this Ohio Bobcats team is looking to play ball control offense and keep Toledo and their offense off the field as much as possible. And this Ohio defense really impressed me against Bowling Green last week. They pretty much spent the entire night in the Falcons' backfield, recording 3 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. Toledo, in their game last week, they gave up 4 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. Like I mentioned, Harris found some confidence. He is an absolute master at running the speed option. You will never see anybody hang on to the ball longer or make the decision later. And he did it 4 times last week. They were all the right decision, and they were all accurate on the pitches for big gains. Finally, this Toledo Rockets team pretty much fallen off the cliff over the last month or so. They've lost 3 of their last 5. They have failed to cover in 5 straight. Ohio on a neutral, getting points. I got to like it. I really do. I like the way this defense is playing, and I like the extra element of the ground game that C.J. Harris brings to the offense. They've still got some powerful receivers when he gets the ball to him, and you could see his confidence growing as that game went on, being able to throw the ball down the field. Give me the Ohio Bobcats +2.
Yeah, I thought about taking this play as well. I do have a question, though. Do you know who's the quarterback for Toledo in this game?
I don't know that it matters.
I was just wondering if it was announced or not, because I know that Finn missed the last couple games. I wasn't sure if he could potentially be back for this one. I don't know if it matters either. I'm just mentioning all the uncertain variables at play.
From what I'm reading, it sounds like he's not going to go, but I'm not sure. And I didn't.
That's why I was asking. I was just curious.
Yeah, I didn't really factor it into.
I don't think it matters, but the point is you might be having a backup quarterback against another backup quarterback, which gives you a reason to take Ohio, because Toledo's not exactly healthy at the quarterback spot either.
No, and that's a great point, because they had Finn played a little bit against Western Michigan and then brought Gleason in after he got hurt. Gleason was dreadful. 13 of 38.
But Finn hasn't played since. That's why I'm asking.
Right. Well, and Finn, he was 5 for 11 with 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. So, pick one there, buddy.
Yeah, I like the play. I know the money has come in on Ohio. I believe it opened up at like 3.5, and now it's down to 2. I've even seen some 1.5 at spots, but I think Ohio's the best team in the conference.
Yeah.
So I can agree with that play. My third one's going to be another FCS play, but it's all reliable, and it's not Presbyterian. It's going to be North Dakota State. I'm going to go with the Bison, -6.5 at -110. A couple reasons why. First of all, Montana has been pretty good this year, 8-4 straight up. The issue is it's really, really front-loaded because it has lost 4 of its last 7 games. It has not played well lately, and Montana has lost each of the last 3 road games. And a reminder, since this is the FCS playoffs, the higher-seeded team is the home team. So they are going to be playing in the Fargo Dome. And to go through a really, really fun stat, North Dakota State in the FCS playoffs has been, let's just say, really, really good. They've played 32 home games in the FCS playoffs. Do you want to guess what the record is in the Fargo Dome?
30-2.
They're 31-1.
That was my other guess. I couldn't decide which one to go with.
They are 31-1 straight up at home in the FCS playoffs, and they're laying less than a touchdown. Now, I understand North Dakota State this year might be weaker than previous years. They were still 9-2. It's not like they're a bad team or anything like that. But North Dakota State at home has been very good this season, 5-1 straight up. All 5 wins have been by at least 13 points. And North Dakota State can run the ball really, really well. They're averaging 261.7 rushing yards per game, which ranks 4th in the nation. It's the same story every year. North Dakota State's just more physical than every other opponent they have. They run it down their throats, and they have one of the best home field advantages in the country, let alone just FCS. But 6.5 against a Montana team that's been awful on the road lately, I think it's a hell of a price. I'll easily lay less than a touchdown with a team that's 31-1 straight up at home in the FCS playoffs.
Yeah, and you mentioned they lost 2 games this season. One of them was to FBS Arizona.
And the other one was to South Dakota State, who's actually favored to win the championship this year. So it wasn't like they ended up having a slip-up. And correct. Montana beat, I forgot who they beat, Southeast Missouri, I think, in the first round. They won. They didn't cover. They were favored by 14. They won by 10. But Montana's been so bad on the road. And if that's the case, good luck going into the toughest environment imaginable in the FCS. I'll easily lay less than 6.5 with an FCS power like North Dakota State at home.
Yeah, they beat SEMO.
By 10. They didn't cover, so they didn't look great.
Correct.
Still.
Correct. All right, very good. By the way, best sign that I saw in the Montana State game day, Grizzlies are just fat, dumb squirrels.
Fair enough. I also remember from that game itself, that sign might have gotten to them because I believe Montana State beat them by about 35.
Okay. Yeah, that was not close. Not close. All right, and we're going to close it out with a battle from the Fun Belt there, buddy. How about a little Coastal Troy? I'm going to play Troy minus the 8.5. That seems like a huge line. Well, there's a reason for it, and the reason is
you watched last week's games.
Yeah,
that's the reason why.
Coastal Carolina missing Grayson McCall, one of my personal favorites. Going to miss him for sure this season. That is a huge drop off. McCall, just by the numbers, 68.9% completion, 9.5 yards per attempt, 21 touchdowns, 1 interception. He took just 17 sacks. Meanwhile, they bring in a guest quarterback, 44.2% completion, 7 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, and he has taken 7 sacks in limited duty. Coastal, they're going to have to run the football to be able to be competitive in this game, and they're not going to be able to do it against Troy. They're going to have to beat them via the pass. Good luck with that. This Coastal Carolina defense has been the weak point all year long, well, until McCall got hurt. They're giving up 32.2 points per game in their last 5. I think Troy has their way with them here. Give me the Troy Trojans minus 8.5.
And for the record, by the way, I mentioned last week's games. Coastal ended up losing 47-7 against James Madison.
Yeah.
Wasn't good. 47-7. You said Guest might be quarterback. I'm curious if maybe Carpenter is going to start. They got to try something. I don't know if it matters. But I've seen Troy play. And if you want to talk about good defenses against the run, they completely shut down Army a couple weeks ago on the ground. Like, this Troy defense is really, really good.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. Coastal's going to have to throw, and I don't know who's going to do it.
Yeah, and Troy's offense could be hit or miss, but I think it's good enough. Once again, 47 allowed to James Madison's. I know James Madison was a very good offense earlier in the year, but if Troy ends up scoring like 24, there's no guarantee Coastal even gets to 17.
Yeah. So. James Madison, the team that usually ends up playing North Dakota State.
Yeah, usually. Unfortunately, they promoted themselves, so they can't exactly get away with that anymore.
Do you think North Dakota State doesn't want to be promoted just because of all the rivalries they've got with North Dakota and South Dakota State and all the baked-in fun that they just dominate FCS? Do you think
I like the conspiracy theory where all the Power Fives are scared of the programs. They just refuse to allow them to join, which is definitely not the case, but I just find that scenario amusing.
I'll tell you what.
That was for the scheduling. They would never actually schedule them, but I doubt it'd be for the conference.
I wouldn't put much stock in that, although it may have gained some steam after watching James Madison roll, at least early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I could see, I don't think a Power 5 conference would be afraid of them, but if you're in the Sun Belt or if you're in the American Conference USA, yeah, I think there could be some real trepidation about adding North Dakota State to that.
I'm trying to think of what conference they would even fit in based on location. Like you said, no Power 5, so the Big 12 is out.
No, well, I mean, they'd have to be they'd have to
Mountain West.
What?
Like I'm trying to think of what conference they would join. Like the Mountain West, hypothetically, just geographically speaking.
Yeah, I guess that would be it. Mountain West. I mean, the Sun Belt would work, but
I mean that involves a lot of flights to the other side of the country, but still.
Well, and when you think Sun Belt, you don't necessarily think North Dakota.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if that applies because you got the Big Ten, and then you have Rutgers all the way on the other side of the country. Like I don't know if that really matters.
It doesn't, because you're going to have
USC and UCLA. So
right.
I don't know if geography even matters anymore. But I guess Mountain West would make sense. But it could just be North Dakota State realizes they have a good thing going. They're known as being the kings of the FCS block, and they figured, why would we bother changing this? We're having a hell of a time.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right, bud. So there you go. And we have decided, based on the short card, that we really didn't have anything that we were in love with for a farm.
And we didn't overlap, so we had like 6 games here. There aren't many games on the card.
I really thought we were going to overlap. I really thought there would be at least one game that we had the same. We only had.
I almost took Ohio, so that would have been our overlap, but I ended up not doing it.
We only had one consensus game this week. Okay, but so what's your best play?
So my best play is actually going to be on one of the FCS games. The question is, which one do I want to take? I'm going to go with the under in that Jackson State game.
Okay. All right, that's going to be your best bet there. You got 50.5, right?
Yeah.
So, I really like all my games. Let's go with Troy.
That was going to be my guess of what you're going to take.
This Coastal Carolina team is just so bad right now. The defense is awful, and no McCall.
Their coach also might go AWOL after the game.
So. Oh, that's right. They're missing Hugh. They're going to be missing Hugh.
Is Chadwell going to be there, or he has officially jumped ship already?
I don't.
Because he's been rumored to like a bunch of different programs. I think it was USF, right? South Florida.
That's what I've heard. I don't think it's official yet, so we'll see. Okay.
I'm saying his mind might be, somewhat out the door already.
All right, very good. I thought yesterday I was thinking about like doing all the games, all 10 games. I'm like, no.
That sounds like effort.
It did sound like a lot of effort. The first game I see when I started looking at this was Akron at Buffalo.
Like, I kind of liked Akron outright.
I was like, what the fuck?
Sounds crazy.
Akron playing for the conference championship? And then I realized it was a makeup game.
It's a makeup game, but Buffalo has fallen apart too. So
yeah, they're not good. This Akron defense, though, Jesus Christ, I can't get behind that team. You got any thoughts on TCU, K-State?
I think TCU should win, but a part of me just expects Alabama or Ohio State to find a way into the playoffs. So I'm kind of just expecting some type of shenanigans to happen. So I hope TCU and USC wins. I want new blood.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you the thing that kind of scares me about this game as a K-State fan, and you and I talked about it before we started the show. K-State's locked into the Sugar Bowl no matter what happens, because if TCU wins, obviously they go to the playoffs, and K-State, being the runner-up, goes to the Sugar Bowl, and K-State wins. Well, they'll be the conference championship going to the Sugar Bowl. So. There's still a path for K-State to play for national championship.
I believe there's a path, but it's relatively unlikely.
It's relatively unlikely. Yes, it is. But somebody put it up on Twitter like that is the definition of an eternal optimist.
I don't know if that even matters, by the way, because those are all hypotheticals. Doesn't even include the fact that the committee would just not pick Kansas State anyway.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying. So the odds are 0, but no matter what hypotheticals you have. But I think that the motivation argument, even though you could argue that they are going to the Sugar Bowl no matter what, we were thinking about it before. They haven't won a conference title since like 1990. I think
in the 90s, I really think Michael Bishop was the last conference championship they won. I could be wrong.
The point is that they can make history. So I don't think they're going to overlook this game.
No.
I understand your point.
No, I honestly don't think so either. Because, Kleiman, he's used to playing in big games there with North Dakota State. So I think he's going to have him ready. I'm glad they had some patience with him because the first couple seasons, things didn't look great, but he's starting to get his guys in there.
They have an identity.
They do, and they didn't know what it was at the beginning of the season, but they definitely have an identity now with Will Howard at the controls. Adrian Martinez is an interesting wrinkle as far as being able to run the football, and that was kind of fun to watch. But
he can't really throw, but that's limited.
That's the problem. He's limited as a passer, and the Warner kid has really come into his own as a weapon there in the receiving corps.
Well, he's been good. Knowles has been very good.
Knowles has been fantastic, and not just as a receiver, but as
special
a
teams guy,
returner as well. Yeah,
and we know how good Deuce Vaughn is, so that's just a given.
K-State always known for great return game,
and Sinet's been a good tight end for you.
Yep, absolutely. What else we got? North Texas UTSA. You got any thoughts on that?
I think I would have leaned to the points just because the first game was so close and it came down to the wire. But I mean, UTSA, they didn't care about last week. They were down a ton to UTEP and then came from behind. But I think I'd lean to the points, but I don't think North Texas is going to win the game. It's very tough to win a game in, their home stadium. That's pretty tough.
And Tulane UCF, eh?
UCF lost to Navy. I don't know if they were looking ahead either, but I really like this Tulane team.
I do too, man. That defense can play, and the offense is starting to put some points on the board. You think
about they had extra prep time, right? Because they played on Did they play on Thanksgiving? Play on Friday? They beat Cincinnati. That might have been a Friday game, but I believe they had an extra day of prep.
I think you're probably right. But you think, UCF is the one with the offense, and Tulane's the one with the defense. But you look at the stats, UCF averages half a more point per game than Tulane does.
I also like Fritz as a coach, and I am not exactly the biggest Malzahn guy. I think Malzahn's fine. I think you just know what he is. I think Fritz has actually been creative for once.
Are you surprised he hasn't got a call?
He got a call from Georgia Tech. I'm not sure if he's going to take it or not. But there are rumors he might take a Georgia Tech job, so we'll see.
God, what a thankless job that is.
Correct. I wouldn't take it.
Yeah, this is this UCF team. They pulled out the win over South Florida last week, giving up 39 points.
So that was Navy 2 weeks ago. They almost lost to South Florida last week. My bad.
Yeah, they lost to Navy, put up 14 points against Navy. The Cincinnati game, you were correct. They do have an extra day. That was a Friday night game.
Okay, that's what I thought. They were also fortunate because Cincinnati was using a backup quarterback, but still, Cincinnati had won, I forgot what it was, 30-something straight home games, and that finally ended.
Yeah, and they, another impressive victory the week before that, they ran SMU out of the building.
Yeah.
They beat
scored what, like 60 in that game?
59-24.
59, yeah.
Beat them by 35, yeah. All right. You and I talked before the show about Fresno Boise. Good luck with that.
I'm going to lean Fresno. I was initially leaning Boise. You could toss the regular season meeting in the garbage because Hainer didn't play, so that doesn't mean anything to me. Right. But you look at the injury report, Boise might be missing a ton of guys, including their starting running back, because Hawani got hurt in the third quarter last week. I mean, you look at the score of last week's game against Utah State, that was probably the worst beat of the season for any bettor. If you had Utah State, I don't know if you're familiar with what happened.
No, refresh me.
They were down 5 with about 1:30 to go. You're getting 17.5. They're down 5. They turn it over.
Yes.
You have a 90-yard touchdown trying to run out the clock, then a pick 6 on 4th down.
Yep.
And Fresno, and you end up having Boise cover the spread. But the point is, Utah State almost beat them at home last week, and Boise might be missing even more players. I think Fresno is going to get revenge.
They could be down 2 starting wide receivers and their tight end as well,
and their starting running back. Like it's really a mess with Boise's injury report. So I'll lean Fresno.
Georgia, it's gone over 17 at 17.5.
I think Georgia beats the crap out of them, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wasn't confident enough to take it. I'm kind of the same way there. I don't hate the over in that game either. 51.5.
We've seen Georgia's offense kind of sputter at times, and I'm still not a big Bennett guy. I think he's fine. I just don't think he's very good. But I know Perkins got hurt for LSU last week. I'm assuming he'll play in this one, but keep an eye on him because he's easily the best defensive player on their team. A&M just ran it down their throat. Like, I feel like you can argue it's a look-at spot, but LSU was competing for a playoff spot. Like, I just think they got smacked.
DJ Uagalele as a 7.5 point favorite. How much of that are you fucking getting at the buffet, buddy? You loading up on that?
I think I'm actually taking Clemson.
Are you really?
I hate North Carolina too. This team's also fallen off a cliff. Like both teams are really bad right now, but I know Clemson has a defense.
Right.
I don't know what the hell North Carolina has. I know Drake May's really good. I get it, but the last couple of weeks, that team's fallen apart too, and I know Clemson's the better team. I think Clemson steamrolls them, but we'll see.
By the way, check out this week's edition of Once Upon a Time in Las Vegas. We do a little Drake May sketch.
Did a college sketch, nice.
Yeah.
Did you have to pay part of the NIL deal for the likeness?
It basically involves him sitting out the next 3 years to prepare for the NFL draft.
Nice. Okay, that's fun. I like it.
But yeah, the North Carolina defense is just they're dreadful, dude. They are. I wanted no part of this game. You know,
that's why we didn't take it. But if you're asking where I'm leaning, I would lean Clemson.
Oh fuck, you're getting a Clemson team that's coming off a loss to South Carolina. You know.
Yeah, but North Carolina, we saw lose to NC State using their 5th quarterback of the month?
Yeah.
So
true.
I don't like either team right now, but Clemson's better, so I guess I'll lean to Clemson.
Yeah, the problem that I see is this North Carolina offense is kind of taking a step back last.
And their defense still stinks. That's the
point.
Defense,
and their defense still stinks. Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go.
When you lose to Georgia Tech, buddy, that's not a good sign.
That's a serious. You blow a 17-point lead at home to Georgia Tech. That's a serious red flag.
Yeah, we had North Carolina in a game. We thought we were. I thought we were absolutely cruising.
Of course,
17-0 in the second quarter. They don't fucking score another point. What are you doing?
Correct. So,
all right. Well, there you go. So we kind of broke down all of them. Not really, but between the plays that we have and just kind of a snap cap of the other ones, and basically we gave you a lot of reasons why we didn't pick those games.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I gave out 2 FCS games too, so we covered some of those. So
that's why I kind of felt we owed it to the audience to at least talk about the FBS championship games, because I know they'd love to hear your thoughts on Jackson State instead of Clemson. But all right, so just to recap, Richel's got Michigan minus 16.5. His best bet is Southern Jackson State under 50.5, and he also has
I got the Bison.
The Bison
minus 6.
It's the Bison. When you talk about North Dakota State, buddy.
I know. I do it to mess with you. We've had the same discussion several times.
Every year we talk about the Bison. So there you go. On the other hand, I'm going to shut out Richel this week. I'm going for the lockdown. I've got Utah USC on Friday over 67. I got OHIO, no state involved, +2 over Toledo. And I'm taking the Troy Trojans as my best bet over a banged up and horrible defense of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers.
It's going to be a lot of fun, by the way, if that Utah USC game goes under on Friday, because you'll be sweating at 0-1 trying to deal with whatever happens on Saturday.
I will. I will. So, all right, guys, there it is. That's the show. That's the season. As always, we appreciate everybody stopping by. Drop us a comment. Makes us look better. We also love to read the comments and see what you guys are playing, see what you think of the show, see what you think of our picks. See if you think Richel is a big hairy pussy for not taking FBS plays.
You play to win the game. So I don't really give a damn, to be honest.
Well, he's already proven he's inferior to me as far as FBS plays, so he went to the only move he had left, so that's fine.
Cool. I'll remember that when we see the scoreboard at the end of the season.
I just think it's fun. And by the way, I'm at I checked the percentage. I think I'm like at 56.4. You're one game behind. I would put you somewhere in the 55 range, something like that, give or take. So both of us have been profitable for the season. If you would have followed all of our picks, not counting Chris once he got involved, or the farm plays, which started off great and then hit the wall. You notice we're not doing a farm this week because
there aren't enough games.
Just not enough games. We talked about it before. There was nothing that we loved as a 7th play. So we're going to retire the farm for this week as a losing record. That's scandalous, Scott. It's just absolutely scandalous that we weren't able to do that. So anyway, thanks for a great season, guys. Richel, thanks for doing this with me. I think it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy doing it. It's usually like our Friday kind of happy hour thing after all the work is done. And
something had to replace NASCAR, right?
Yes, something had to replace NASCAR. I miss Rye. I really do. That was a lot of fun, and we always have fun doing the NASCAR shows. And I think it's just because we don't know as much, so we're just kind of looser with it, just kind of fucking winging it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But anyway, we're very serious about college football. We're going to go out there and win. I'd like to see us both finish 3-0. Me finish one game ahead. But that's the way it goes. But good luck to you, Scott. Good luck to all you guys that have watched us. Thanks very much. And yeah, stay tuned. We'll be back with our bowl season extravaganza here in a couple. Extravaganza. There's a Freudian slip. Our bowl season extravaganza starting in a couple weeks. So make sure you tune in for that. And yeah, we'll see you then. You guys take care. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.